Welcome back, everybody, to the Wild Faith Podcast. This is the first episode of Chasing the Rut. This is a series that we're going to be bringing to all of our listeners that is going to be detailing strategies and tactics that is going on with weekly updates of what's happening in the Whitetail woods. Our goal is to bring in a couple local guests and people from around the Midwest and the country of what's happening, and our goal is to chase the rut all the way to the end of the season and just bring you guys along for the journey and the ride, hopefully with some success stories and some ideas and tips that are going to bring you some success out in the field. So without further ado, Luke, first episode, Chasing the Rut. How are we doing?
We're doing a lot better now that Babe finally showed up.
That's right. Number one deer on the farm finally showed up since January. Haven't seen him.
Yeah. I don't want to say it's like a weight off my shoulders, but like it feels a little bit better because we were getting a little like, where are the deer?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's mid-October, obviously. You know, this is going to drop here on the 17th.
Yep.
And so, you know, big thing with mid-October, you're hunting those cold fronts, and that's exactly what brought him in.
Yeah, no, you said it perfectly there. And like I said, kind of the goal of all this is just to be able to help you guys out in the field, especially getting that local information, information from Midwest and whoever we have on for guests that, for whatever area that they're in, just bringing what's happening out in the field at that time. And, I just think of right now, like you just said, I mean, mid-October going into that latter part of the peak of the pre-rut here come Halloween, like you are chasing cold fronts. And like we have been patiently waiting. We've actually had two fronts since September now that have come through, waiting for multiple shooters that we've had on the farm that have just been MIA since about August, and they finally showed back up. So it's exciting. I'm ready.
Yeah, it's game time for sure.
So tell me a little bit about, we're talking mid-October right now. We're talking cold fronts. What are some strategies that you're implementing kind of with this upcoming week that we had? I know this past week we did have a really killer cold front come through, and I know there was multiple people that killed bucks.
Yeah. I mean, it's, you hear about the October lull, which we would technically be in. So it's not to go down a crazy rabbit hole with that, but especially just keeping it simple here is you're hunting cold fronts, you're hunting any sort of fresh signs, scrapes and rubs really should start opening up. You're checking old signs from last year where it's a community, scrape. And, those like we talked about before we jumped on here is like things should really start be opening up and be able to kind of target those bucks and see what's kind of moving around on the source. And then food source too is big because, we've had a really dry fall or, dry early fall, dry summer. So, like beans are all gone and they're picking corn like crazy right now. So, really focusing in on those oaks, white oaks, with the acorns crops, you could still, some of the corn, especially freshly cut cornfields, there's a lot of corn still laying on the ground. And then with that, those you're looking at those transition zones between those 2 points, and then, it's bedding to food. And so, we're not quite there where they're probably scent checking beds yet, but it's close. It's coming. It's coming.
And you said a couple of really good points. And, especially here in Minnesota, I think you attest to it, talking to a lot of local people that people's cameras have been just dead, like dead. And, a part of that too is we've been in an incredible drought here, I would say, for the last month and a half where
easily, yeah.
Hopefully people got their food plots in, but talking about from transition to food, like bucks haven't really wanted them. It's been hot too. So they're talking about just deer finally starting to transition and crawl out of their, wherever these big bucks have been living, if it's in drainage ditches or little 1 acre lots or whatever that might be, where they haven't really wanted to move and they've had no reason to move, and talking about isolated pockets of oaks, like what a perfect place for a buck just to live and not have to move. But we are getting to that time though now where things are starting to shift and the woods is really starting to pick up and come alive, and talking about getting, I think you listen to juries talk about that they're starting to get back to green now. So if you do have kill plots or destination plots, definitely looking on those transition zones, getting to food late. But I definitely think here in the next probably week and a half that I would imagine there'd be a lot of scrapes starting to open up, maybe some fresh sign for rubs and whatnot. I know this past week we had a killer cold front come through. I know my brother-in-law shot a nice buck. I know there was a buddy of ours that out on their farm, they killed a giant. I don't even know what that one went. I think like 178 down by Rushford. Just an absolute freak. But with that though too, sign up here in central Minnesota has been dead. I mean, the only scrapes that I've found have been tight to bedding, like really, really tight to bedding. Normal spots that I would go out and scout right now just have not opened up yet. So I'll be curious to see what it's like back home. I think 26 will be the next time I get back home. So I'm kind of stuck up here hunting up in the Northwoods. But yeah.
No, it should be good. And like you said, you're talking to 26, you're already getting real close to that pre-rut time. So, with it being, October, we're recording this the night of October 15th here. So what are you keying in on? If you have a buck that's daylighting, are you going to go obviously make a play on him?
Yep. So I look at it, if you've got a deer that's daylighting, one time, I wouldn't say is enough information to know that deer is consistently coming out. But if that deer is coming out 2-3 times, hitting the scrape or coming out the kill plot, whatever that might be, definitely moving in to go and get the kill on that deer, just because I feel like there's such a narrow window from early October to where we're at now, and then kind of going to the latter part of like the peak of the pre-rut come like Halloween time, that where that deer might only do that for 3-4 days, and it's different for every farm. I look at for our farm, how it's set up, like usually about now through about the latter part of the rut, like I know that deer is going to be living within our section, just a matter of crossing paths with them. But from a public land perspective too, or just big, whatever it is, just if I know I've got a deer daylighting multiple times, it's just basing it off of what it's been for weather. If it's been a peak of a front, whatever that is, like if we get a good wind, a good front coming through, and he's been daylighting, I mean, you're gonna have a hard time keeping me out of the woods trying to go kill him, because I think the time is now, because those windows of where you're getting a buck that's doing the same thing every day is dwindling down, because once the rut comes, that it's you never know what that deer is going to do. You could be 5 miles away.
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely. And with that being said, like how are you shifting stands? How are you shifting cameras from, that early season now to kind of that early to mid season, early pre-rut?
For sure. And like cameras have gotten so good now, and shout out to Reveal and to Tacticam. They've got some incredible cameras that battery life, they just last forever. But on top of that though, I mean, this is a great time to get in there, change batteries, just get ready for the latter part of the rest of the year. But definitely shifting cameras, the fresh sign, if that's there, if you're finding fresh scrapes, talking about transition zones on the backside of bedding, especially for some of those cellular cam setups, like this is now the time that I'm probably getting them on the backside of like doe bedding areas of where I know there's going to be transition zones of bucks moving in. And just places that I know I don't want to be in until it's the time to hunt,
Yep.
So definitely probably that. And then, kind of going with that too, maybe talk a little bit about how you hunt those cold fronts when they come through. I know that's always a debatable question of when's the best time to hunt a front. Is it before the front comes through, or is it after the front? Like what's something that you employ or deploy for a tactic for that?
When I have time. Yeah. Like I was all gung ho about trying to get out there, with this most recent cold front, and it's just like, sometimes life just happens and it gets in the way. Like Saturday was pheasant opener, so I never want to miss that, so I had to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's honestly for me, it comes down to when I can get time away from work, or quick sneak out and get in a hunt. So, with early season, typically you're hunting evenings. What is that line in the sand for you? What is that? Not necessarily a hard date, but you know what I'm saying? Like, what's that date for you where it's like, all right, I'm switching to mornings, or doing both, but starting to do some mornings?
Yeah, this is a good one. We talked about this earlier. You hear different opinions from a lot of people, and I have no really big ground to stand on. I haven't killed a ton of giant bucks in my lifetime, but I've killed a few. And, I just look at it like those mornings, mid mornings, the latter part of October, once we get to that like 24th, 26th time frame, and it's all dependent on fronts, but saying that, from the 24th on through Halloween, saying that you're going to get some two really good fronts that are going to push through. I would not be afraid to go jump in a morning stand on the backside of a bedding area for sure, or in a transition of food. I mean, like Cody Twisco was talking about the other day, it's like, some people won't hunt mornings at all. And it's just like, you don't know if you don't try. And, everyone's always worried about buggering out deer in the mornings and stuff like that too. But if you've got a target buck that's daylighting particular, and, he's going back to a bedding area, you might have, and like this how it's planning out this year with the moon and stuff too. And I'm not a big moon guy, but moon for me falls number 3 in the list. And if it all lines up to be where it's supposed to, like that deer might be out feeding late in the field and he might be getting back to bed late, or he might be getting up at 10 in the morning to go look around and go eat again, so like that's where the time is so short. And you said it too, because like, being parents like we are, like you get limited time in the woods. So if I only had the pick between a morning and an evening, I'd have to kind of go back and look at historical data that I had, but I would definitely not be afraid to start hunting mornings even now. I mean, it's just a matter of where you can get into and how you can get in there. But I think mornings are a great option. I mean, like some of the best hunts I've ever had have been in the mornings all the way up until gun opener. And this year for Minnesota, for everybody listening, this is your best chance, and I couldn't tell you how long, to kill a really big buck before gun season, because it doesn't open until the 9th.
Yeah, I mean, you hit on a lot there, but I think the key is for me, like, especially now, like if it was still like 70 some degrees out, I'd be like, no way I'm touching mornings. There's no point. But that's where you can kind of, if you can sneak into those, like we've talked about already a little bit, those transition zones where you can slip in undetected, set up, get in your setup if you're public land set up, or if you're just climbing into one of your stands on your property. You got to try and focus on, I think, those areas that those bucks are going to start to, return to their bed. You're not necessarily maybe, depending on, who you are or how you hunt, but maybe not necessarily hunting their bed. You're hunting that transition zone from wherever they're coming from, whether it's food or whatever, where they may be laying down a rub line, where they may be ripping open a scrape, and then so kind of cutting them off, like, like anything, cutting them off before they get back to their bed. Or that's kind of like what I start thinking about this time of year, especially now that we've got some nice cold weather coming.
Well, and you said it too. So like one of the big things, and I know we talked about this earlier too, this is one of the best times outside of, the rut's always the game of Yahtzee. You never know what you're going to get, but it is a really good time.
Like
Same thing with
chocolates.
Box of chocolates. Same thing as like the latter part of the rut, like that second rut. But like you've got a deer that you've got historical data with, where, and like for particular, like babe for us, like this year, I was saying it earlier today that there's four key dates in the last 2 years that he showed up the exact same day to a T. And it's like, I know on October 27th is probably going to be my best chance to kill this buck, because he's been at the same camera at the same time for 2 years in a row. And just like clockwork, when he showed back up this year, which was just a couple days ago, he was on the same camera on the same time of this, or not the same time, pretty close. I mean, a couple hours, but same day that he showed up last year. So I look at it where, especially for these deer that, it just totally depends on how your property lays out. And Sturgis talks about this a lot too, is, are you getting, is it your local deer that are living in the section, or are you getting this is the best time to kill deer that are not local to your farm, that come back in for that part of the rut of where they're telling you, that's why that historical data is there. They're telling you that I'm going to be here at this time. And that's the time you got to be in the stand. And you're just hoping that you can line that up with a good, good weather day and all that other type of stuff. But it's a magical time, man. I'm excited. This is the time of year that you start dreaming about, of where you get frosty mornings. And it's kind of funny because I don't know about southeast Minnesota, but here in central Minnesota, it just feels like in the last week, a switch is flipped. and it is all of a sudden it is fall, and it's not. It's like you got cold mornings, good winds. Leaves are coming on the ground, so it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be fast and furious, and we talk about it all the time how short and sweet fall is. But these next 3 weeks are going to be really, really fun, I think.
Yeah, no, it's go time, man. Like we've said, but no, I think this is. I'm excited for this little series. It's like our turkey talk we did during turkey season. Just kind of give a update on how things are going across not only, us hunting, but, people that we've, come into contact with, that we've hunted with, or, just people across not only the Midwest, like you said, but even the nation too, to kind of get some sort of a report on of what's going on out in those whitetail woods. So I'm excited, man.
No, it's going to be good. And, kind of tying into all of this too, we're doing a giveaway. We're going to be giving away some apparel and a mystery prize, I should say mystery prizes that we will not disclose yet. Like that. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to start this on Thursday when this episode drops. I believe all that you have to do for the contest is like the post, and you just got to tag 2 people in the post, and that gets you entered in the drawing, and then just kind of fall along with the journey. And we'd love to hear from you guys too, from a feedback, what you are seeing and hearing in the woods. This is an exciting time, like we talked about, but this is also a time too where we're talking about collecting data and, local data for other people. And hopefully this is good information that can help you guys be successful this fall, and looking forward to it, man. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Like, follow, tag 2 friends, and hey, if you feel like you got something to say and that you feel like reporting on what's going on in your neck of the woods, and shoot us a DM, and we'd love to have you on.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. Well, guys, this is the first episode of Chasing the Rut, and we look forward to bringing this to you. I think when is the end date? I think we're closing this on the day before
Thanksgiving. So
Thanksgiving.
They're going to drop on Thursdays, except the last one will drop the Wednesday.
Yep.
Before Thanksgiving, which is when we'll announce the giveaway winner as well.
Awesome. Well, cheers, guys, and fall's here. It's bow hunting time.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time.
Love it.
Love it.
Guys, thanks for listening in, and we'll see you next week on Thursday.
Thank you for joining us on this journey through faith and the great outdoors. We hope today's episode has inspired you to seek God's presence in the wilderness and deepen your connection with nature. If you enjoyed today's discussion, don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe to the Wild Faith Podcast on your favorite platforms, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode, and you'll continue to be a part of the Wild Faith Podcast community. We'd also love to hear from our listeners, so please don't hesitate to reach out with your questions, comments, or topic suggestions. You can connect with us on social media or through our website. Your feedback is important to us and helps us improve and tailor our content to better serve you. And always remember, the great outdoors isn't just a playground for hunting and fishing. It's a sanctuary for finding solace and spiritual renewal. As you gear up for that next adventure, I pray you find God's presence in the crackling of a campfire, the thrill of reeling in your catch, or the quiet solitude found in nature. Until next time, thank you for listening to the Wild Faith Podcast. Take care, and God bless.